It's 9 a.m. here at Dumaguete Animal Sanctuary on the island of Negros in the Philippines. It's playtime, all the dogs are out. I'm going to be spending the whole day in the shelter here, introducing you to some of the characters here, showing you what goes on behind a living, working animal shelter, including the motorbikes that pass by just at the wrong moment, and introduce you to some of the amazing stories from some of the dogs that we've rescued and whose lives we've saved. So let's see what's going on. Every day at 9 o'clock, the gates open and the day really begins at Dumaguete Animal Sanctuary. For the dogs, this is their chance to get outside, to walk, run, play, and for a little while just be, well, dogs. With around 300 of them living here, getting everyone out is quite an operation. But for the staff, it's simply how every day begins. And there's one dog in particular that I want to catch up with. This is Marley. A few months ago, we received a report that a dog had been hit by a car and was struggling to walk by the side of a busy road. By the time we got there, Marley was lying in the hot midday sun, unable to move. We carefully picked him up and we brought him back to the shelter. But when we examined him, we couldn't find any injuries consistent with being hit by a car. In fact, the reason Marley couldn't walk was much simpler. He was starving. He was so severely malnourished that he simply had no energy left to move. Several months on from rescuing him, Marley is still on a long road to recovery. He's gradually putting on weight and slowly beginning to regain his strength. But some days are better than others. And this morning, whilst everyone else was running around and playing, Marley was quite happy just standing and watching the world go by. As Jerica carried Marley back inside, another little dog was coming out to play. This is Raven. He was dumped in somebody's garden who didn't know how to look after him, so we took him in. He was delivered to us in a carrier bag. He was only 8 or 9 weeks old, but was already suffering from severe mange and lost much of his fur. After several weeks of treatment, including deworming, he's looking so much better. He's a cheeky, playful little boy, and we're hoping he'll be ready for our next adoption drive at the end of the month. Looking after so many dogs takes a lot of people. The sanctuary employs 28 staff, and every morning there's an enormous amount of work to be done. There are dogs to be fed, medication to give, treatments to carry out, records to keep. And an entire shelter needs to be cleaned and maintained. Most of this work happens quietly, every single day. And one of the most important jobs each morning are the dog inspections. And today, that's Angel's responsibility. Angel is the shelter's senior veterinary assistant. She works her way around all the dogs, looking for anything that might need attention, checking wounds, making sure they're clean and healing properly, and identifying any dogs that may need further treatment. Anything she finds, she notes down, ready for the team to follow up later in the day. With nearly 300 dogs to get through, I felt perhaps I might be getting in the way and decided to head towards the clinic to see if I could find Leslie. But on the way, I saw this. It was Hero. Hero is our latest addition at the shelter. He was found tied inside a plastic sack and left outside in the heat. By the time he was rescued, he was barely hanging on. He was severely dehydrated and had been deprived of oxygen for so long that we still don't know what lasting damage may have been done. Right now, we don't even know if he's going to survive. All the team can do is keep treating him, keep him comfortable, and give him every chance they can. Time was moving on, and I was keen to show you a little more of the shelter, but security was tight. So I decided to head to the kitchen. Security was pretty tight there too. But I knew another entrance, so I headed round there and I was straight in. Once I was inside, I found dinner being prepared for 300 dogs. Kibble, rice, pumpkin and chicken, and occasionally a finger or two. When I left the kitchen, Suki saw me and came running across. Suki arrived at the shelter in very different circumstances. She'd been hit by a car and suffered serious head trauma. A member of the public found her lying unconscious at the side of the road, put her on his motorcycle and brought her straight to the shelter. When she arrived, she was completely unresponsive and nobody knew whether she was going to survive. For the next several days, she received constant care and supervision from all the team. And then slowly, little by little, Suki started to come back. And within a matter of weeks, the dog who arrived here unconscious was back on her feet, running around as though nothing had ever happened. I'm amazed constantly by the resilience of dogs, what they go through and their powers of recovery. You know, every single one of these dogs here was born on the streets. They were born to be loved, but until they got here, they never experienced love. This place is built on the foundations of love, and it's amazing. The people that work here are remarkable. They get up time and time again. It's an emotional, tough job to do, and yet they get up and they do it again and again and again. 300 dogs here that if it wasn't for this place, they wouldn't be alive. And I think that's amazing. As the rain fell, most of the dogs took cover and settled down for a sleep. But Frodo saw it as an opportunity for a little spa treatment. Looking at him now, clean, comfortable, and thoroughly enjoying himself, it's hard to imagine how we first found him. Frodo was standing in the middle of the road. He had a large tumour in his head, which had badly distorted the shape of his skull. He just stood there. He looked exhausted, confused, and in terrible pain, almost as though he simply couldn't go any further. Rena knelt down beside him, gently picked him up, and we placed him in the crate. And that was the moment Frodo's life changed. Often here at the shelter, the dog you look at today bears almost no resemblance to the dog who first arrived. All morning, I've been trying to get to visit Leslie. I easily slipped past security on the gate and finally made it to the clinic, where she was fast asleep. But she wouldn't be sleeping for long.
because before lunch we were taking her to the vets for x-rays. Leslie had been hit by a motorbike and thrown into a water-filled ditch at the side of the road. She lay there injured and unable to get out. Eventually, Leslie was pulled from the ditch and we brought her to the shelter. But she was in a lot of pain and she was struggling to use her back legs. We'd been worried that her back might be broken. There was just enough time before lunch for me to join the team and take Leslie to the vets for the x-rays that would hopefully give us some answers.
Well, that ended up being far better news than we expected. Leslie doesn't have any broken bones. She does have, however, a dislocated hip, so that's going to need attention. But the first thing is she's in a lot of pain in her back. Her spinal column is intact, but she has a lot of pressure from her bladder on that. So we're going to take her back to the shelter where she can rest and recover. And then she'll have a catheter fitted. We'll empty her stomach, reduce that pressure on her spinal cord, and hopefully that pain will go. And once that's all okay, then we'll get to work with the hip. But this could have been far, far worse. This could have potentially been something or given us results where she might have had to be put to sleep, or she might have had to have a leg amputated, or legs amputated. So this is really, really good news. And we wait and see what happens now. We'll bring her back in a couple of weeks to have a CT scan once that pressure's off her kind of spinal cord, and we'll see where we go from there.
Back at the shelter, Leslie was soon settled back into her bed. It had been a busy morning, and by lunchtime things had finally started to slow down. The team sat down together, the dogs gathered around, and for a little while at least, everyone could relax. But not for long, because this afternoon, the food we saw being prepared earlier would have to be served to 300 hungry dogs. And that's when the chaos starts all over again.